This is Gemara Baba Basra, Daf Kof Mem Hey, and all learning should be an incredible zchos Rafua Shlema for Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva b'siyad d'shemaya via the Kayach HaTorah. We should continue seeing incredible Yeshuas and ultimately a complete Rafua Shlema. We're holding on Kof Mem Daladam and Beis. We're in the middle of discussing a stira that we had between the Mishnah and the Brisa. And the stira was, as we look back at the Mishnah for a moment, that the Mishnah taught us that Achash Asam Iksasa Shishbinis B'chayav Chazra Shishbinas Chazra Le'emsa. That when the bridesmen's gifts, these gifts that were given to participate in the chasana, is returned, it's returned Le'emsa to the entire estate. And the stira was that we had a brisa that said if the father sent Shishbinas, Chazares Lai goes back to him. So the first teretz was to be machalik and change the wording. And Shmuel Amar, Shmuel said no. Shmuel said, Acha b'yava maskinon she'inol noitel b'roi kibim muchsik. We're discussing the yavam. We're discussing that the brother that went for the shishbinis is no longer alive. His brother took over, and we're discussing such a scenario, and that's the reason why there's a chilek between the Mishnah and the Brisa. For a moment, we'll look at the bottom of the Amid over here at the Rashbam, just to get us back into things. The Rashbam, 5 lines into the wide line, spells out that Shmuel Amar Laim Kidiktani Bryce. Really, the Bryce is more precise. The father sent Shishbinas. The father sent one of the children to participate in the chasana. It goes back to that son alone. How do we reconcile this with the Mishnah that said Chazeres Lemsa? That son that went, he was nifter. And therefore, when the gift wants to be returned to him, we have a problem. He's no longer. One of the brothers performed Yibum on this brother's wife. Rachmana Amar says the Torah Yakam al Shem Echav Lenachala, that when Yibum is done, he takes his brother's place for the inheritance. And therefore, really, this brother, the one that did Yibum, should take the place of the deceased brothers for Yibum. He loved the Rachmana Bechar. If not for the fact that Torah calls him a Bachar, we know that the Bachar can't take Ra'i Kibim Mochsik, and this is Ra'i, because this was not in the state of the deceased at the time of his death. And that is the reason why in the Mishnah it's Chozeres La'emsa, because we're discussing this unique case that it's not a regular brother did Shishminas, but rather he was Nifter and his brother performed Ibum, and therefore there's no din of taking this property back to the brother alone because this is Roi. So says the Gemara, from the teretz of Shmuel, it implies the other one does indeed get paid back. Lema, so what should the Mishnah have said? Tenu li shishbani vesmach imai, give me my shishbinus, and I will rejoice with him. Miloi Tanya, do we not learn that a brayso makshanagu lachzer kedushin machzirin makshanagu lachzer ein machzirin? So the Gemara asks on the lishonis. V'Amar Rav Yosef bar Abba explains 2 lines on the bottom. Amar Ukva Amar Shmuel lo yishanu el shemesehi. That is only when she is niftares. Aval meisu ein machzirin. But if he dies, the kedusha money does not go back to him. My time yachali shetamar. Because his new wife could say, as we turn over to Kof Mem Hey Amid Aleph, Tenuli Baili Vesachimai. I'm not causing this issue. I'm ready to get married. So let the husband come and we'll rejoice. The fact that that's not happening is because he was nifter. That is not problem. That's not my problem. The wife Kataina. So Hachanami says the Gemara in our case in Shmuel as well. The Yavam Kataina Nema, let him say Tenuli Shashbini Vesmachimai, and I'll rejoice with him. So the Gemara is bothered that why would the Yavam lose out? He's waiting and willing to fulfill everything he has to. Amar Rav Yisach, Rav Yosef explains, we're discussing a case in which there was the Shavar Brachos, and he was not paid back before he died, and therefore everything was fulfilled, and that's the reason why in such a scenario the Mishnah teaches that payment of Sheshminas will have a din of Roi, and this brother that performed Yibum will not get the whole thing, and rather it will be Choseres L'Emsa, will go back to the entire estate. And we continue 4 lines down. Says the Gemara, we spoke about a din, parenthetically, a moment ago, about the din about what happens to the Ma'is Kedushin if the Chassan is Niftar. So says the Gemara, Lema Tenuli Baili Vesach Imai Tenoi. Maybe we should say that whether the wife Ketaina, what do you mean I'm ready to get married? Therefore I shouldn't lose the Ma'is Kedushin. Maybe that is a machlokes tanoim. The Tanya we learned in a brayso. Hamaris says Isha, and again this is a complete tangent brought in just because we mentioned this case a moment ago. The Tanya we learned in a brayso. Hamaris says Isha, if someone performs erusin to a woman and then he dies or he divorced her before the nisuin. Besula, if she was a besula, she never had relations, go v'matayim. V'albana mana, but she's a mana, she gets 100. Makshanagu lachzer kedushin, says the Gemara, in a place that the minhag to return the kedushin machzir. Makshanagu shel lachzer kedushin, in machzirin, divrei Rabbi Nelson. So Rabbi Nelson chalks this up to the minhag hamakoim, whether they are a machzir the kedushin or not. Really, I'll tell you in a place that they have a minhag to return to you, right? They return a makshanagu shloilach ein machzirin. Rav Yehuda Anasi Hainu Tanakama, says the Gemara. What just happened? Rav Yehuda Anasi just said the same exact thing as the Tanakama. Elalav, so says the Gemara. You know, Rav Yehuda Anasi must have been coming to say the nuance that we just said, that's the machlokes. The machlokes is, does the wife have a taina? What do you mean? I'm waiting and ready to get married. Moving over to the second medium-sized line that we're lacking words and they will make a lot of sense. And we read as follows: and this is the point that we're adding in the Hadar Be'ihu. What are we referring to when the husband is one that backs out? Aval Meisa. However, if she dies, if she dies, Aval Meisu, if the husband dies, in Machzir, my time, because she can still say, so the Tanakama is going with this Taina, that the wife could say, why should I lose out? I'm sitting here ready to get married. And on this, Rav Yehuda, move on to the 6y line, and Nasi Lememar. Says Rav Yehuda, Nasi be'etzem, I don't care whether it's he or her that died, it's all totally in the minhag whether we return the Ma'is Kedusha or not. Because why? Because she does not have this taina to say, give me my husband and I will rejoice. Because of Yudan Nasi holds, she does not have this taina to relevant who died, and rather it just goes purely by the minhag. Says, so the Gemara is now suggesting that this svara that we spoke about a moment ago, that the woman has a taina to say, Tinuli Baili Vesvachimai, the Gemara is suggesting that svara is a machlokes tanoim. Responds the Gemara, says the Gemara, no, really everyone is in agreement that she has this taina. And when the husband dies, there's no machlokes. Keep league Shemesa when she dies vehayacha bekedushin letibu and nitna kamifli. He says the Gemara. There's a different machlekes going on over here. The machlekes is what is the status of the kedushin, the ma'is kedushin? Do we say that it is letibuin, literally sunk, drowned? Do we say that it's irretrievable or not? Rav Nosson Tavar kedushin lav letibuin no. The ma'is kedushin, says Rav Nosson, are not defined as such. Rather, it all depends upon the money, whether you the minhag, whether you return the ma'is kedushin or not. That the monies will indeed be lost. Asks the Gemara, how can you say this? Said it's all totally on the minhag. And we said that even Rav Yudan Nasi is maskim, but based on what you just said, it's nothing to do with the minhag. Answers the Gemara, Hachi Kamar. Savlanos, Savlanos, the gifts, that will all depend upon the minig. And this works well, as Rav Yudan Nasi, when he spoke, didn't say the Ma'is Kedushin, so it's very mistaver that we could explain that Rav Yudan Nasi is not really referred to the Ma'is Kedushin, but rather to the Savlanos. Continues the Gemara of Ani Tanai, Kani Tanai. The Machlekes Tanayim that we just said really parallels a different Machlekes Tanayim regarding the Ma'is Kedushin. The Tanya we learned in a Brisa. Kadsha b'kikar. If someone got married with a kikar of silver, but he didn't do the nisuin, b'sulik over masayim, amanamana divrei meir. Rav Yehuda married b'sulik over masayim, amanamana machzar lo is a shar. And the remainder of that which the silver bar is worth gets returned. Rav Yosi Aimer Kadsha be'esrim naisin lo shleish. Says Rav Yosi, if he married her for 20 shkalim, he has to give her shleishim chatzayim 30 halves. Kadsha be'shleishim naisin lo esrim chatzayim. He'd have to give her 20 halves. So says the Gemara, what exactly is going on over here? B'mai askinon. We're about 20 lines on the bottom. The first one on line is Chatzoin. Says the Gemara, if the case that she dies, means like Ksuba. What's going on? There's no Ksuba then. The Ella Shemesi, the husband dies. So Maya Machzer L'Sloy is a shar. So then says the Gemara, if the husband dies, why does Rav Yehuda say she has to return the rest? What happened to the taina that the woman could say, I'm sitting here waiting and ready to get married? Vela. So rather, what are you going to have to explain to me? They're referring to a case where Ishes Yisrael was mizaneh before the Nisuin happened. That's the reason why the marriage was never consummated, because there was a divorce. Because the husband says, you're mazana, we're not getting married. Now she wants to collect her ksuba. Ubimai. And in what scenario would this be true? If she was mazana willingly, mias like ksuba, she doesn't get a ksuba. Velabainis. She was forced to have relations. Says the Gemara, but if that's the case, why are they getting divorced? Mishra Sharialai. The halacha is that if a woman who did Erusin is forced to have relations, she's still allowed to get married to the prospective husband. Says the Gemara, you're right, it can't be an Eishes Yisrael. It must be, says the Gemara, you know what's going on over here? It must be they're really referring to an Eishes Kayin. Referred to Eishes Kayin that did not do anything willingly. So what's the machlekes? The machlekes is, do we say Ma'is Kedushin are litibuin, that they are sunk, that they can't be gotten back, or not? Rabbi Meir Savar Kedushin litibuin nitnu, Rabbi Savar Lav litibuin nitnu, and Rabbi Yosi is what? He is misopek exactly lay. That was due to the suffix of Rav Yosi, and that's the reason why he says if you're Makadish Vasrim, you get 30 halves with it, which is 50 shkalim, a little bit difficult math to do, but we'll leave that for now. So the Gemara is suggesting that really the aforementioned machlekes of Kedusha, let's say, new, is not a new machlekes, rather one that we had prior. Amar Rav Yosef Bar Minyumi Amar Rav Nachman Chobak Shenagul Hachzer Machzirin V'Terguma Nehardai, and in Nehardai they said V'Terguma Nehardai, and this is how Nehardai explains. Shar Bavel Mai. What about the rest of Bavel? This is how Nehardai explains. What about everyone else? So Rav Yosef Rabba and Rav Yosef explains Mahayri Hadri. The gifts, the savlanas go back. Kedusha lo hadri, but not the money. Amar Papa. So we conclude. Says the Gemara, what is the Maisa? The Maskana Elchsa. Ben Shemesi, Ben Shemesu, Ben Shemesi. Father Behu, Mahiri Hadri, Kedusha lo hadri. The gifts go back, not the money. Hadri Behu. If he go back to Kedusha Nami Hadri, then even the Ma'is Kedushin are going to have to be returned. And Amemar Amar Kedusha lo hadri gzeir shamiyam kedusha toifsim v'achaisa. We can't return the kedusha, says Amir, for a sidebar reason, because people will think that kedusha are toifsim v'achaisa. That if people see that they're getting remarried, we can run into such a concern. Rav Ashi Amar Gita Meichich Allah. We don't have to worry about that because there was a get. Father Rav Ashi says the Gemara Bedusi Dika de Shema Baha v'lo Shema Baha. Says the Gemara Rav Ashi, it's a nice svara to think we don't have to be worried because the Maistas they get here to prove what happened. Says the Gemara, it's not true, because when it comes to Shmuais, when it comes to the way that people talk, maybe they're only going to hear one of the two things. They're not going to hear that she was divorced, and therefore we do have the concern of Shema Yimru Kedushin Taifsim B'Chaisa, and therefore the Kedushin is Loi Hadri. We continue 2 lines at the bottom. Shashbinas Nigvis Bebezdin. The Mishnah said Shashbinas could be claimed in Bezdin. Taner Rabbanan, says the Gemara in the last line of Kov Mem Heyam Ed Aleph. Chamisha Devarim Nemru B'Shashbinas. 5 things. When we talk about Shashbinas, when we talk about these gifts that are given B'Shas L'Chasana to friends who help out Nigvis Bebezdin, number 1, V'Chozeres B'Ayin Nasa, and number 2, returns in its proper time. Number 3, V'Imba Misham Ribis. There's no din of ribis as we turn over to Kov Mem Heyam and Beis. And number 4, Ve'in HaShviyas B'Sham Tasa. It's not considered halva. Shemitah is not going to cancel such a loan. Ve'in HaBachar Neitel Ba Pishnayim, and it's going to have a din of Ra'i. Therefore, the Bachar will not take Pishnayim. He will not take a double portion in this area. Continues the Gemara, Nigvis Bebezdin my taima. So now let's dive a little bit deeper. What is the reason that you could collect this in Bezdin? So explains the Gemara. Kimilva Dami, it has the status of a loan. Vein Bamisham Ribis, why? That's not why it's given. Vein Ashvis Misham Dasa, why? Karina Beloyigois. Vein Bachar Natal Bishnayim, why? Tavali Raven, Bachar Natal Bi Rai, Kivamosik. Amar Rav Kahana Kalala Dishash Ben Isa. Says Rav Kahana, I'll tell you the klal. Have b'masa ibayle lemeisei. Excuse me. Have b'masa. If he's in the town, then what? Ibayle lemeisei. Should have come at the chasana. Shama called tavla. If he heard the sound of the bell, ibayle lemeisei, should have come. Lo shama called tavla ibayle la duye. Then what? He should have been told. He should have told the original chassan about the chasna. Tarumais complaints. Isla, he could complain. Shluma Mishalim, and he gets feedback. Vad kama Amar Abaya Nagu b'nei Genana Ad Zuzah, the b'nei Genana were knowing that Ad Zuzah I see v'kape achlei b'chreisei, that up until a zuz is what he would bring, and that's what he would eat. Ad arba mishalim palga. Up until 4 zuzim will pay half. Mikan ve'elach. Above that, what? Inish kichashavisa. Each person according to how chashav he is, but there will be no flat rate. What has to be paid back. Continues the Gemara about more halachas about these matanai sheshbinas tanu rabban. If he came and he helped him at the chasana in public, and then when he gets paid back these gifts, he wants to do it privately. I did it for you in public. I want you to do it back for me in public. What are you doing? He did it for his friend Bishniya, for a second wife, and then he wants to reciprocate with the first wife. When I get married, second wife, then no, so proves the Braisa that one could claim that he wants the Shishbinas back in the same way, the same mannerism, the same surrounding details that he gave it to him in the first case. Once we mentioned something bitzina and something galui, something in public, says the Gemara, Tanarabban, atir nechasim, atir pumbi. Says the Gemara, rich in properties, rich in public. Zeu bal ha gadais. This is a bal ha gadais. This is someone who knows a lot about God. Atir slayim, atir tekua. Someone who's wealthy in coins and wealthy in tekua oil. Zeu bal bilbo. Atir mashach, atir kamas. Someone who's wealthy in measured, wealthy in stored. Zehu bal shmuais. Akol shrichel amari chati. Everyone needs wheat. What does that mean? Gemara. That means someone who knows the Gemara. Finally, I will conclude for today. I'm Rav Zera, I'm Rav Maidech. Say what is the meaning of the passage that says, "Kol yimei ani rayim." All my days are poor and bad. Zebal Gemara. So first to about Gemara of Taiv Le Mishta Tamid. So the good heart is parting constantly. Zebal Mishta. Rava Amar Ebucha, the opposite. Vaynu Damar Amar Sharshim. Shei Rava Maidech. Say what's the meaning of the passage. V'seya Avanim Ya'atsev Bahem Boikea. Eisim Yisakin Bam. Misayeh Avanim Ya'atsev Bahem Elu Balei Mishta. That's Balei Mishta. Bokea Eisim Yisakin Bam Elu Balei Gemara. So different ways of explaining those who learn Gemara, those who learn Mishnah. Pick it up from here. B'siyata Dishmaya.